Okay, we guys went about it the right way today. We lowered the load a little bit. I thought we got after it the last time we were out there. They responded well. The tempo was what it needed to be. We tried to keep them off the ground today, and then obviously prepping for tomorrow's scrimmage, which will be a big deal. We're going to introduce a lot of our game day processes. We're excited to partner with Hotel Madison in terms of executing that. They have been phenomenal to work with going all the way back to January. So in general, I like the attitude of the team today. I thought we handled the work that we put in front of them. What do we got?
With you guys getting ready to send these guys back into classes as well, what are you hoping to accomplish over these next few days before that kind of other scenario of their lives pick up?
Yeah, we will. So tomorrow will be our second scrimmage, and then we will we're going to give the guys a big block of time off. We'll have our rookie skit, which is probably my favorite day of the year. We will do our team photo. We will do Meet the Dukes, which we're extremely excited about that evening. And then we're going to do a true mock week, Sunday to Saturday next week. So first year with this group, and I would say even if it's not year one, just because of the amount of people that are new every year, again, more of an annual process than assume everybody knows what game day feels like and game week feels like. So next week will be carbon copy, by the minute, by the rep. We're going to try to create that type of urgency throughout the week and solve all those problems before we actually get into game week. So that's the plan.
How much have you seen these guys want to experience that now after a couple of weeks of a similar routine with preseason camp?
I would say this group has stayed pretty present. We had Josh Wells here to speak to the team yesterday, and man, what an impressive guy. Obviously very accomplished as a football player, but I was more impressed with the wisdom, the maturity, the character, the humility to kind of express what he's been through, what he's learned. You talk about making an impact on our team. And his first point was present performance, right? And, anxiety comes from thinking about the past too much and thinking about the future too much. And you got to be present each day and focus on the work and the task at hand. And I thought that resonated with our guys. I would say this group's been pretty good at that. But today, I thought they showed up and that message hit home with our guys. So they were focused today. I don't sense that. Sometimes with other teams I've been a part of, you get to the end of camp and they're fading a little bit. This group showed up today and did it right.
How critical is that approach of being where their feet are and standing there? I know Gannon talked about it and Amar talked about it at Media Day. How critical is that to building a winning team?
It is, and it's extremely important. I think next week will be critical that we establish a rhythm of what game week looks like. And it's punch list, and it is, you got to set up the cues and you got to have things in place for the players. And you got to be better when you go to bed at night each day of the week. So, I always equate it to getting ready for a heavyweight fight. You got a week to train, and you can't afford to waste any opportunity, and every part of the day is a competitive event. And I think we got a smart group, and I think we have good leadership, and hopeful that next week we can get that established. But it's one of the more important things to having a good football team for sure.
When we talked with Gannon Weathersby, he mentioned he had the green dot this season. So what went into that decision with Coach Ball, and how have you kind of seen his leadership grow with that communication?
Yeah, we work lots of different combinations in terms of who has the green dot. We certainly view Gannon that way, but we got other linebackers that we think we could put the green dot on as well. And I even think we have some guys in the secondary that we could put it on. We've typically in the past we've been built where our inside backer has had it, and that's been a different guy depending on the combination of players that are in the game. Each team's a little bit different. Each group of defenders is a little bit different, and the combination of players. But Gannon's ability to play on third down contributes to that, right? So that would be the biggest part of the equation is like he can play on first and second. we feel good about his matchup ability. So his ability to stay out there on third and not have a substitution issue there, that would be the main thing. But certainly that reflects Gannon's ability to communicate, his intelligence. That's a compliment to him as well.
As the season is getting closer and closer, have you come close to or made a decision on a starting quarterback?
We're getting closer. I think each day we learn a little bit more about the guys. I do think that will be a lot of our conversation here over the next week or so. 7, 8, 9 days or so. I think we'll be making that decision at some point here. And we also have a lot of other positions where we'll be deciding how we play the players, what type of rotation, 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, who deserves to play, what's the two deep on all 6 phases of the kicking game look like. That'll be a big part of the staff conversation over the next couple of days.
Scrimmage 1 was last Saturday, Scrimmage 2 tomorrow, today the final practice before that scrimmage. What are your expectations for Scrimmage number 2?
I want the tackling to improve. I want to limit explosive plays. I want to play a little cleaner on third down on offense. I'd like to play, finish with some touchdowns in the red area. And we're going to, take care of some of our vets, and we're going to, some of these guys that are competing, there's going to be a lot of competition in terms of the middle of the roster. Some of our vets that have played 400+ snaps last year, or played 1,000+ snaps in their career. Tomorrow will be a day where maybe they don't see the same snap count. So we'll get to see some players play with the first group, how they handle that. And then quarterback play, specialist play. And then the middle of the roster, who's ready, who's not.
When you talk about explosive plays, you want to limit them, but you also want to create them. What are the keys in those areas? And when you talk about last week with the scrimmage, it seemed to me that we were making mistakes giving up those explosive plays defensively. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, typically it's coverage bust and it's missed tackles on the second and third level. Explosive runs come from getting the ball to the second and third level of the defense, and then the back making one guy miss or breaking one tackle. And we're talking 20+ plays. And then obviously in the back end, to give it a 20+ play, either a guy gets beat in a competitive one-on-one, or you just have bad distribution in the back end. Mental errors contribute to that. Missed tackles contribute to that. And then offensively, the flip side of that is the havoc rate, the eliminate negative plays, the penalties, the TFLs and the sacks. And the O-line is the galvanizing group there. 5 equals 1 applies to the O-line, and it applies to those 5 guys in the secondary. So those 2 units typically require the most synchronization, the most synergy. And as you get closer to the game, you want to be really in good condition there. Both of those groups are really important.
You mentioned creating that depth chart even beyond just the quarterback position, which is obviously the one talked about the most. How important are those last couple of practices once you kind of narrow it down between it being narrowed down in that first game? How critical are those to make sure those guys are getting the reps?
Yeah, well, really, I would say we'll have a lot of positions on our team where we're evaluating the preparation, the meeting, the walkthrough, the practice. And we will, late in the week, we'll decide the rotation within the game, who jogs out there first based off of the week of prep, And I think with our team, we have a lot of position groups that will be the case, That we'll have some, no doubt, first place starters within the game, but there'll be a lot of guys that we're evaluating their readiness to play, what type of urgency, their ability to execute throughout the week, their attitude towards the meetings, the walkthroughs. And who runs out there first, and then is it 1-to-1, is it 2-to-1, is it 3-to-1, or does the guy even deserve to play at all, right? So the kicking game will have a ton of that as well. The 4 court in particular. That's a way you get some guy experience that maybe deserves it or is a young player. So a lot to be determined with this team. It is deep in certain spots, and I think that is healthy for our team to have that level of competition.
And you mentioned the urgency. How critical is that piece when you are starting the season against an opponent like Liberty and that is, projected to be at a similar level to you guys?
Yeah, I hope that urgency just continues what we've seen so far, right? That competitive spirit. Obviously, we're in a little bit different mode. The format of the practice has changed, but if we're doing this the right way, when we come in here every day, there is a high level of competitiveness and urgency. There's an expectation in terms of the detail and the attitude and approach. So there'll be a natural increase in energy, but the key is to channel all that into all the things that are going to help you play better, right? And be present. What will contribute to me being able to execute when the game gets here, and connect it to your purpose and connect it to your preparation, and that'll allow you to be confident.